but the Hammers actually have no reason to ban away either of those two because they know that they should be able to get one of them.
One reason why TSM could have picked Finn is because traditionally, even as I was a player when we played on Gangstars, against TSM we would prioritize Finn a little bit more just because Flash is not the most reliable with his Crucibles, traditionally at least. So they could have just picked it up to not have to deal with going up against it. A Black Feather ban, that's a little bit more general priority pick ban, and the meta Black Feather is doing great because he can stick to characters such as Celeste. Cruel gets banned, Celeste is left open. Are TSM gonna pick it?
TSM probably should pick it. It's a very strong pick for Best Shark. We saw him have an incredible game with it yesterday. Obviously, the Glaive can dive onto the back lines, but then the options get limited for what's left for the side of Hammers to pick up to try and get deep into the Team Solo Mid composition. So I would love to see a Celeste actually come out for them here.
This could start to shape up a little bit like a composition G2 were playing over in Europe as well, where you have a Finn and a Lance going into the jungle to protect that Celeste. We'll see what direction they want to go in. Obviously, Lyra's still also open, but you don't really want that Finn to go anywhere except the captain position.
Yeah, I would assume here that Hammers are going to be thinking heavily about either the Grace, the Lyra, or the Lance. Lance was one of Chicken's most played heroes back when he was on the Hammers roster in spring. So he played exceptionally well as one of, not just his most played, but also one of his best heroes to come out.
I want to see what Hammers have planned for this, because if you're leaving Celeste open, you know TSM are going to pick her up, and they picked her up with Finn. That's an extremely strong late game composition that has such a long range with so much initiation tools too, with the Finn pulls his ultimate. So if Hammers doesn't have a very clear plan with a draft and a strategy to execute later on in the game, they're already in a disadvantage.
We'll see where they're going to go with this one. Double pick available for Hammers, and they're starting to run out of time a little bit now. We've already mentioned both Grace and Lyra still available, but it's going to be a Ringo locked on in. We've seen Starting All Over go absolutely nuts on the Ringo last season. Wouldn't be surprised to see that go into his hands.
That's why you have to laugh a little bit when you see the Ringo come out. It's a pick that no one is focusing right now, but Starting All Over has picked this up consistently over the past 2 seasons when no one really expects it, and he does so well with it when no one else really seems to be able to, especially against Celeste. Like he's able to like sneak around the backside onto a Celeste with the Twirling Silver and just melt through her health bar. So you have to watch Starting All Over's positioning in this game.
The question as well is, how are they going to position this one in terms of CP versus weapon power? Because we have seen CP Ringo specifically going into things like Celeste in the past, so maybe it could be something that goes towards the jungle instead.
Honestly, I do expect it to be double weapon power, and the interesting thing, I think this is one of the first times we see Von C uses Celeste in the jungle, at least for the last few seasons. So Gwen, this is a pick that came through for TSM yesterday. Even though it's not a general priority, teams don't look at Gwen as a strong laner anymore, but TSM for the second time they're saying this is a pick we believe can work. Yeah,
honestly, this TSM composition very kind of off the wall comparatively to what other teams are drafting. You got the Gwen going into lane. Celeste is very meta, but usually in the lane now, and then locking that out with a Finn. I mean, what do we make of this composition? What is going to be the game plan for this team?
It's going to be interesting. I mean, obviously the Gwen-Ringo matchup is going to be really fun to watch. A lot of people, when Gwen came out, it was just Ringo 2.0 is what people called her, but enough variants in their kits to make things interesting. But having those two similar heroes, both very basic attack focused, is going to be really fun to watch because it puts these two incredibly mechanically gifted laner players on two fairly similar heroes. And so it's purely going to come down to the skill and positioning for those two, and then what happens in the jungle.
All right, we've got to get on into this game. We've got to kick off our North American Vainglory 8 semi-finals. Let's kick things off with a Twitter hashtag Vainglory8. Let us know who you are supporting. It's the Hammers or TSM. Let's pass it over to our casters and get on into this one. It's Humanist and The Source.
Well, that's right, and thank you, Munchables. You're doing such a great job up there on the host desk, but we're into the game. Hammers versus Team Solo Mid, a little NA action for all you viewers. And I'm joined by The Source. Source, how you doing?
Good. Coming over from EU. It's going to be a long day of Vainglory, but I'm ready for some NA action. I'm told that NA is the more dominant region. Let's see if they manage to impress.
Oh, it's all memes, mate. No, I'm just kidding. Look, I sound like Jaws now. Status, able to get the Elder Tree, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, gets himself out of there. A little action early on. TSM, a swing and a miss.
pushing for the early jungle invasion. Not exactly an invasion, it was the middle camp, but they're able to both even up on that. And I like the fact that they're sending Von C into the jungle, send off that captain to hold the lane, and just maximize the amount of farm you can get onto these carries.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We've been seeing that more and more often. I'm looking at this, you know, as the draft was panning out, and I was like, oh, how's this going to play out? But as far as the itemization for hammers, what would we expect to see?
I'm thinking, I'm not sure. I want to say this might be a double weapon power. Starting all over could end up going into the CP build as we get a little later into the game. Nope, has gone with a little bit more weapon power damage, so it will be double weapon power. We'll see possibly an early tension bow come out from Status, get that early armor shred down, and maybe that allows them to pick up some early kills. I don't know. I have a lot of faith in Flash X's Finn, but that's a nice route.
Yeah, doing good work here. Chuck turns around. He's got the damage out, immediately ready to return. They have to respect it. I'm also super excited about Von C on this Gwen in the jungle. I mean, I'm pretty sure this is the first time I've ever actually seen Von C on the Gwen here, especially in the jungle. So I don't know, like, how is this going to change maybe what we would expect the Gwen to do out of the lane versus the jungle?
I haven't any idea in the slightest. I think that in terms of gold value, it's going to be a little bit further behind. The question is whether or not they're able to bait people in so that Gwen can get off a lot of value over the course of a long team fight. They don't really have massive burst unless Gwen is able to build very heavily into a Sora Blade and fast, which means they have to fight early. But it's a Finn. The fighting early isn't that great. You want Celeste to build up a little bit. So,
right.
Well, you know, we'll need a little bit of time to see how TSM decide to play this one out.
Chicken and Impale, but Chuck turns around with the double land core collapse. Chuck has been landing. I mean, yesterday he was on fire. Apparently pretty on point here today as well. I was going to compliment Chicken for his Impale action thus far, but just immediately turned around by Best Chuck. Both teams just trading back and forth, farming out their jungles. We may have an opportunity for Status to look for a rotation, maybe up into the lane for a gank. He's actually moving deeper into TSM's jungle. He's going to think twice about it and move up. Status just playing mind games with us. Impale on defend doesn't do anything here.
Ooh, that's a lot of return damage on the Chicken. Status needs to be careful. Although he's clearing faster, he cannot fight all three, has to afterburner away.
Ooh.
And I think that's really the difference here. Status is going to out-clear Von C, but he has to be worried about getting, well, not as much invaded, but has to be careful about what he does moving in and out of bushes just because of that buckshot.
Oh, this rotation from TSM is so clean right now. Status still gets his mid, though. Quibble comes down on top of Chicken. He's taking a lot of damage. Von C is going to move forward. Gets him! First blood to TSM. They're going to look for more. Status. Does he have Afterburn? Yes, he does. So he's going to try to trade damage and then probably Afterburn out of here. But was that the place to go? Status! Oh, it's a disaster for Hammers.
I regret everything I said about Von C's Jungle Gwen. I was not expecting the damage to be that good, and I doubt the Status was as well. It's really good kiting out of Von C, proving a high level of mechanical skill on a character. That's interesting how you kite in and out using that passive to get off the extra damage on that boomstick. Now, instant tension bow. So that burst damage is now officially there. You get that with one good core collapse. It's going to be more of a sustainy build for Best Chuck and A picking up the Eve of Harvest, but still, Status needs to be careful. Doesn't have a lot of tanking ability, pretty much is all damage at this point. And what looked like it was going to be, oh, a squishy Gwen is in trouble, I think Von C might dance circles around the side of Hammers.
I really like it as well. Von C is going to have a lot of fun on this Gwen here. I know he loves to play heroes that have huge burst potential. Oh, on the flip side, though, starting all over has gone. Whoa, the aces high connects. He's going to get burst down. Tension bow procced off. And that's going to be 3-0 for TSM. But right before that, I was looking at starting all over. He's got CP items here, Source.
Yeah, so he has kind of switched that build over. Has picked up an instant Shadow Glass. I was surprised he got the extra early dagger, but that's going to be first turret going down. Status goes in with the Afterburn. Can't really connect it into anything. They're short a lot of damage. And what was so impressive about that gank, actually, the fighting isn't over.
Yeah, they're just continuing. Look at this constant polite companies coming out, allowing TSM to trade the damage, and Best Chuck just raining down Helios at this point. TSM in a firm control.
So what was impressive about TSM picking up the kill wasn't the fact that they, led the CC. They did it as well as it could have been done. What was impressive was the timing on it. Vainglory pretty much hit 6, picked up the tension bow, and instantly showed up. And so that's really good team coordination to find that instant kill as quick as humanly possible. Kind of like when you think about most junglers, when they have a big team fighting ultimate, you think about when they're going to be able to kind of get that first gank off, and then there's a certain lull in the action. But Vainglory was able to do that so quickly.
Now, Vainglory definitely one of these players that will seize any opportunity given to him. That ultimate's coming off cooldown right now, so we could look for actually a little more action here in the next few moments. Hammer's got to be careful. Nice little rotation as a team up from the jungle. They won't be caught out here. And, the other thing is just like, yeah, Vainglory's a terrifying menace right now, but Best Chuck, and the way you talked about it, he's looking to just scale up. He's built with the Eve early on here. I really like it.
Yeah, the pacing out of TSM has allowed them to kind of change up the speed at which you would expect Hammers to be able to try and make some of these engagements. The fact that you're not waiting on the forced accord out of Flash X to kind of be their first team fighting capability is allowing Best Check any more time to scale up. And what normally would have been an early to mid game, couple of fights where you would have seen that kind of lack of damage coming out from Best Check NA has basically been negated, and he's very close to that level 8.
I'm also noticing reflex blocks all across the board here. A lot of times we see this come out against CP Ringo's status. He's going to have to burn himself out of there as he found himself in a precarious position. TSM, as 3, moving forward into the Triber's Chicken, will knock him away with that Githian wall, so they'll peel off of the chase there. I think they need to actually get back up into the lane pretty soon. But TSM just very clean rotations thus far.
Yeah, they've built up a decent gold lead. They're pressuring a little bit. They're not really pushing too far up. Again, they want to wait.
They knock Vainglory back. He's able to get out of there. Nice job. And now Flash on the front side. He's going to pull Hammers in. The Quibble does come down on top of Chicken. Solar Storm raining through as well. TSM, you're going to chase this out. Vainglory has the damage starting, dropping low. He winds up backs. Yeah, there you go. The Hellfire Brew is going to come out now. Can they block this off? That was the Fountain coming out, and they blocked that one off. A nice afterburn in from Status. He's on to Vainglory. He finds one looking for more. Flash X going to use his boots down towards that Crystal Sentry. And I think it's actually, yeah, Best Chuck grabs that mid from across the wall there. So Hammers, signs of life here.
Yeah, definitely. They were able to prove Vainglory mortal, managing to pick up that kill, but that fight, it was definitely moving at the pace that TSM wanted until Status got a really good afterburn over the wall. Oh god, Status, no!
Oh, Status, you can't run from Celeste's attack! You're dead! Oh man, that is so terrifying to be running away and just see that attack falling you.
Nothing that could be done because, I mean, the fountain was used back in the team fight. There's no items that are going to keep you alive at that point. And now TSM looking to pressure in and get themselves the possible gold miner. Vainglory still just running forward, isn't afraid of anything that Hammers has. Should be a little careful, but I think since the glaive was down, they can do significant amounts of damage. And it's also it's an interesting composition for the side of Hammers. Yes, they've got plenty of deep dive and engage, but they really want to get that Hellfire Brew either at the beginning or in the middle of the team fight to connect. And because you're kind of kiting around looking for that opportunity to get onto Vainglory, it slows down Hammers, at least their thought process on the aggression, because if they don't manage to connect it, then they know they're going to be slow to take a huge amount of damage from Vainglory.
Force the cord in. They're on to starting getting blown up. Supernova for the kill. Chicken able to block out that Ace's size. TSM moving forward, maybe looking for something else. There's the buckshot slowing them down. Status will take a little bit of damage out of that tension bow. I totally agree with your analysis. I think it makes great sense the way you talked about the Gwen just buying time, moving in and out of these fights. Fountain comes out of Chicken. Status and Chicken really want to defend this turret here. Solar Storm right on the mark, connects onto Status, won't find the kill, but it will force him back here. Starting has made his way back out. He has a Hellfire Brew, but he can't throw it just right in front of them. They'll block it off. It's one of the easiest abilities to block off, so they're going to have to combo something up to land that. Another Plate Company out of Flash here, buying time for his team. Starting's having a rough time.
Yeah, hasn't really been able to get to the point with CP Idris. Or CP Idris. CP Ringo. I've seen so much CP Idris. I haven't seen a Ringo in a while. Not really at a point where he does the damage, but like CP Idris, needs that ability to scale. Yes, maybe you can make a play off of that first Hellfire Brew. Maybe you win that 1v1 in the lane, at least maybe during solo queue, but during a competitive match where there are teams where there's coordination, it becomes a lot harder for something like that to get online. And now the chase onto starting all over. Goodbye.
Good night, starting. Good night, sweet prince. He's taking a little dirt nap here. He's having a real rough time. Not only is he being killed, but Bestchuck out farming him. I mean, in part due to the kills, but also nice rotations, constantly up in the lane when they need to be, and farming through the jungle with Von C when they have time. Also, I'm noticing here the Frostburn really doing a lot of work for the Celeste onto the ring.
Yeah, all that slow, all that kiting potential. I think the fact that Bestchuck went with Eve of Harvest first and not the Frostburn, I think kind of lulled the side of Hammers into a false sense of security, thinking that the Celeste wasn't going to be a major factor, and they've kind of not focused on Bestchuck, and everything has been eyes on Von C, and she's starting all over. Good. Oh my god, he's just been bursted out.
Well, it's I think TSM are onto something here. I mean, obviously, everybody loving the Finn. When putting the Gwen into the jungle in the hands of Von C and Bestchuck on the Celeste, who he's been dominating with, is really just disastrous for Hammers at this point. Choke point turret going down about 11.5 minutes here. Should go down. A nice block on the Force Accord, but the damage is done. TSM will go ahead and retreat. How about a wild Solar Storm, just because why not?
Yeah, I mean, you've got the damage and already has the clockwork, so that's going to be up pretty soon. Only 40 seconds left on that ultimate to come back up, and we're close to the 4-item power spike at 11 minutes from Bestchuck NA. He's just flown under the radar. Yes, has made a play here and there, but I think just for the most part, it's caught Hammers by surprise how fast Bestchuck NA has ramped up, and now that they've picked up so many back-to-back kills, all of this by the pace of Von C's very aggressive Gwen jungle, I think that things are starting to spiral out of control for Hammers.
This is kind of reminiscent of like back in the day. Von C was playing a lot of weapon kestrel out of the jungle. It's super burst heavy and just blowing targets up and utilizing the mobility out of his active camo. He's playing this Gwen very similarly, and I really like to see him. He's in his comfort zone right now, and as you said, Bestchuck almost hitting this 4-item power spike at this point in the game is insane. Also, just because he also has that reflex block as well, so he has the big defense that he actually needs, and is still going to hit that offensive item spike.
Yeah, and already has the gold for that broken myth. So as soon as that comes through, I think that Hammers really need to find a fight before that happens. If they can find a fight before he manages to get back to the shop, and that timer is dwindling away as Bestchuck walks down to the center shop. So window is gone, and now Hammers, they're coming up against a wall here. The damage is there for TSM. They need to find them out.
Chicken missing the impale, leaves himself vulnerable to get to the getting wall. Hellfire Brew is going to come through, blocks off, but it did connect. A lot of damage to get on Von C. They find one kill, looking for more now. Status did such a good job to engage there. A nice stun on the Bestchuck. Now, where's that Force Accord? It's going to come through. They've got two. TSM just turning it around. Hammers thought they had an opening, and it just gets reversed. Chicken's going to have to skedaddle himself out of here. Like, you're not a Gwen. Just get out of there.
Oh my god, one well-timed heliogenesis from Bestchuck was all it took to turn that fight on its head. And they're actually not done. They're going to pressure in here onto the Crystal Sentry. They should be able to bring this down with a few more supernovas. First time it's died, so there's still plenty of Crystal Sentry left to help the side of Hammers be able to defend themselves as they retreat. But the gold is starting to stack up for Bestchuck NA, and we'll get to look at this one more time.
Yeah, what's even more brutal is like he's at the spot at 14 minutes in. He can do whatever he wants here now. Like, he can just go ahead and upgrade his boots if he wants. He can build into defense if he wants. So the world is kind of his oyster at this point. TSM in pole position. They're in the driver's seat. And Hammers, they're going to have to make some very interesting plays happen here. We may have some action, but if we do have a kind of lull, I want you to kind of theory craft maybe for us, like how are these Hellfire Brews actually going to connect?
That was a good one that landed on the Von C, and the one in the previous fight was probably the best they could have asked for. It got the damage out onto multiple targets. It just didn't manage to let them finish the job. And again, I think that a starting all over had backed up, then they could have reset the fight. They would have gotten that initial pick off, but Force Accord does get blocked.
Immense gold
But they do pull the gold miner in and take it down. So a nice steal for TSM. Impale is going to come out on the Bestchuck. Can they stun them up? Yes, they can. Chicken doing a good job. Status, you got to get in there. He wants to retreat. Fountains out. Status alive. Solar Storm ripping through Hammers. Now TSM on the chase. Von C has the damage starting. All he can do is turn and look to trade, but they take him down. Way too much damage to trade. 3 versus 1. And just phenomenal performance. Now 11-2, 15 minutes in. Kraken is out, and this is going to be captured up by TSM.
Yeah, a good fight for TSM. I think that Hammers, they're looking for the opportunities they need to. It's just not connecting for them. And I like that last bit of that play. Von Z steps forward. Starting Oliver stops and is like, I can definitely get this kill. This is an opportunity for me to get this pick off and maybe kite away. Flash X says no. That confidence of Von Z and Flash X to know that Von Z is going to step up and Flash X is going to protect him is just going to show how well TSM is playing as a team and how far they can go in the VG8.
It's really a beautiful thing. I think it's something special, and what we see at the top level, a lot of times it does look like maybe this player is overextending, but they have that faith in their ally to back them up, to give them that little extra something to push it over the top, and I think that's what we're seeing with TSM. Best Chuck creating a wall of heliogenesis to kind of threaten any engage potential. He can make those go supernova at any point that he deems necessary. Flash holding onto a forced accord at this point. We'll see how Hammers are going to deal with this. Hellfire Brew comes through, blocked off. Von C ate a lot of damage off of that though. The block on the forced accord. TSM will move forward. Aces high off the mark. What's the play here? A nice quibble into the Solar Storm. Hammers just get blown up there. Oh, it felt telegraphed, but I guess Hammers didn't receive the memo there. And this is going to be the last Vein Crystal turret getting chunked down. Chicken doing his best. 771 beautiful damage coming through on that supernova. Best Chuck just tearing through Hammers. And Team Solo Mid going to take game one.
Convincing fashion. They pretty much ran the table with Von C's amazing Gwen weapon-powered jungle. It was definitely an off-base strategy. I don't think Hammers was ready for it. We'll see how they do in game number 2.
Hammers maybe not ready for it. Let's see if our analysts were ready for it. Guys, what happened?